Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Nerd Ledger again. It's Friday. I'm here on a Friday, all by my lonesome, just to do a quick little episode, a little one shot, talking about some stuff, guys. It's really just a follow up from our normal podcast we do every Wednesday. We had mentioned that the writer strike had come to an end and kind of what that means, and how it was a little bit irrelevant because actors are still on strike, but the writer strike has come to an end. They've reached deals with studios, and they're happy to get back to work, and studios are happy to have them back to work, and get working on new projects and everything else because obviously they want to make money. But news actually came out after we had podcasted that the actors are supposed to sit down next week with studios to negotiate. So it's very possible that the actors strike could also be coming to an end in the next couple weeks, which will be really good for people who want new movies and TV shows to come out and be worked on. It's one of those things, like, for me personally, like, I don't really care about the strikes, and never really have. Like, I get it, it's gonna postpone things and do this and that, but that's the nature of things. I can wait. I'm not like that pressed about it, and when things come out, they come out. But obviously, it will be a while for a lot of things. Like, the main one was like Deadpool 3 was supposed to come out in May, and it's very unlikely it's going to come out in May. But it won't be the only thing that gets pushed back. A lot of other things will also get pushed back. There was also an article about actors meeting with, I think it was video game companies. They had talks with the video game industry that ended with no deal. So the Screen Actors Guild had met with the video game industry this past Tuesday, and there's been no agreement reached there. So it could be something similar, I guess, with the studios are meeting with next week. They could walk away with no deal. It's entirely possible, but I think that it's pretty likely they'll come to some form of accord, hopefully, I guess, so that they can get back to work as well. But I think it's definitely had an impact on the industry, and definitely had an impact on studios whose primary goal is to make money, and it's really hard to make money when nobody's working and you can't put anything out. And so it'll be good to get people, to get actors back to work, and now you have the writers back to work, so you can have the writers working on things now, and then when the actors come back, like, things will be ready for them, and so hopefully it all works out just fine. But yeah, I just wanted to follow up on that. Something else that I saw yesterday was that there's a new Lord of the Rings game coming out, and it's going to be called Tales of the Shire. There's a little promo for it. There's no gameplay in it. It's just you announcing it, really. And it looks to me like it'll most likely, and again, there's no footage of the game, no gameplay, so I can be completely wrong about this, but my guess is that it's going to be like Animal Crossing-ish, Harvest Moon-ish, Stardew Valley-ish, but with hobbits instead of Middle-earth. So that's my guess to what it'll be. But who knows what it'll actually be. But that was cool, like, as a Lord of the Rings fan, I love Lord of the Rings, so I don't play many video games, but I hope it'll be a nice, fun, cozy game, and it won't have like terribly cheap graphics or anything. So hopefully it'll just be a nice, fun, solid game. Another big piece of news that broke today is that Marvel is going to begin accepting pitches from writers for an X-Men movie. And this should excite a lot of people. But yeah, they're hoping to have a writer early next year. And I think it's really important, right? Because, like, the thing that a lot of people maybe don't understand, or I don't know. I don't know. But Um, Marvel's success in recent years, right? The MCU, the success of the MCU, um, it wasn't a small feat. Um, when the MCU started, right? When Disney owned Marvel, they don't own all of it, and by that I mean that in the 80s and 90s, Marvel was kind of going bankrupt, and they were selling off rights to their characters and film rights to their characters, including Spider-Man, including the Fantastic Four, including the X-Men. And the reason why those ones sold, I mean, there's other ones as well, as like the Incredible Hulk, but the reason why those things sold is because they're the most valuable, most desired characters from Marvel. Um, and so when the MCU started with Iron Man, it was pretty shocking how that kicked off an entire interconnected cinematic universe, because Iron Man had always just been the least interesting member of the Avengers, and the Avengers were just the least interesting team out there anyway. I mean, not to insult anybody, like, I don't mean it in this way, but not many people preferred Avengers over X-Men or Fantastic Four. Like they were fine. There were good runs in Avengers comics. Like one of my favorites is The Trial of Hank Pym, but there was nothing ever like nobody would. I can't say that, but for me, it was always X-Men and Fantastic Four, and for a lot of people growing up, right, especially because those are even the TV shows we grew up on. Was the animated Spider-Man series. The Avengers didn't really have a TV show, but the Fantastic Four had a pretty not great one. But X-Men, the animated cartoon from the early '90s, that show is beloved by many. So, when those are the things that even in the early 2000s, when we were getting these live action movies, we were getting Spider-Man, X-Men, and then Fantastic Four, and it's because those were the rights that Fox and Sony had, and those are the characters that make the most money. And so Disney didn't have those rights. Disney had the rights to the characters in the Avengers and other things like that. And so they made it work, though. They made it work. They made it work the best they could, and it's been extraordinary. It's been an amazing thing. Now, recently they bought 20th Century Fox, who did own the rights to the X-Men and Fantastic Four, and so people, I think, assume that once they bought those, it's simple. We're just gonna put out the movie. We're gonna work on X-Men right away. We're gonna work on Fantastic Four right away, and it was never gonna be that. They have to continue on with what they're already building, and then integrate those later. And I think for them, they're thinking the best way to do that is through something like Secret Wars, which we already know has been announced, and then Fantastic Four has been announced coming out in 2025, I believe, at this point. And so X-Men makes sense for 2026, 2027, if they can get that thing working. They have a deal with Sony for Spider-Man, which is great. Like, they've managed to get all the characters they need under their umbrellas, and those are still going to be some of your most successful projects, in my opinion. Fox had some good X-Men movies, but they certainly mishandled the franchise as a whole. And same with Fantastic Four. It's been grossly mishandled, and yeah, so it's great to have these characters under one fold. I'm not going to speak to the way Disney has run operationally the past couple years, but what I'll say is that Kevin Feige is largely in control of the MCU, right? He's almost solely in control of the MCU. So even though people might say it's fallen off or this or that, like, trust me, I think it'll get back to where it should be, and characters like the Fantastic Four and the X-Men will help. So it's great news to see that. And again, they are already slowly integrating things. Deadpool 3 will be a big, huge integration because that is now under Disney, and it'll be great. Wolverine's going to be in it, and we're going to see him in a suit finally, which is going to be awesome. And we'll probably see a bunch of other X-Men and a bunch of other things going on. So I think there's a lot to be excited for the future of the MCU. I hope that they stop overdoing it a little bit. They really focus on what they want to do and do those kind of 2 to 3 movies a year. I know with the TV shows as well, it can be a little overdone. I know Bob Iger's not a huge fan of them, but Bob Iger, he hasn't really been great for Disney either. So, I mean, that's just my opinion. Everybody can have their own opinion on all that stuff. So, yeah, I look forward to the future of the MCU though, and it's great to see that they're putting out that call for pitches for an X-Men movie. Makes me excited. Um, Other than that, the only real follow-ups are on the writers' strike ending. One of the first things studios are doing is getting writers back in and working on things that have been in the works for a long time. One of those is Star Trek 4, which is there was an article that came out about getting back to work on Star Trek 4 that's still been in the works, and that's one of the first things they want to get done. So we'll see if that actually happens. Another one was there was a report before about Taika Waititi's Star Wars movie being dead on arrival, pretty much. Like it was dead at the studio, and that came from a Twitter account, and a well-known Twitter account. And at the time, I had said something like, "Well, I don't really trust Twitter insiders because, they might get some sources of truth, but they don't know the whole truth, and nobody really does. And so we shouldn't just write articles because someone on Twitter that is a quote-unquote well-known insider says something, because those people are also often wrong. And there's nothing wrong with being wrong. That's just the nature of it. And I don't like to buy into things or stories until it's fully confirmed, because it's great to get excited and it's great to be hyped about something, and like that's all great, but for me, I'd rather wait and not get hyped and excited, because if those things don't end up happening, then I'll end up disappointed, and it might sour my view of whatever that thing is going to be or was supposed to be. So I just choose not to do that. But a new report has come out that the reports, the Twitter guy, that his reports were grossly exaggerated, and that the movie, after all, Taika Waititi's Star Wars movie is, after all, not dead at the studio. It's still being worked on, just slowly. So yeah, again, and Twitter account Andy's, the insiders, blah blah blah. I never really read into those things very much. So, I think that's about it. I'm just checking to make sure that I haven't missed anything. I don't think I have. So yeah, just another short little video here, and it's gonna also be audio on a podcast. I didn't bring up any articles for this, so you don't really need to watch the video unless you want to see me face in my background with my lightsaber and my pops and my statues. But other than that, yeah, that's everything. I appreciate everybody who's checked out the podcast, who's watched any of these videos, who's came to one of our live streams on Twitch every Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. PST, to hang out and chime in through the chat or whatever. It means a lot. And yeah, if you can like the video or rate the podcast, or subscribe to the podcast, or subscribe to the YouTube, or whatever, do all the things you want to do. We appreciate it. Much love and goodbye.